Hey, 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 Dr.Minesha here, affectionately known as Dr. M. Super excited to be able to be in the Peace Driven Leader Lounge with you and Elsewine. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad to be able to share this space with you on today. And I'm looking forward to the conversation. First of all, before we get started, if you are following us for the very first time, welcome to the Peace Driven Leader Lounge to you as well. I'm glad that our paths crossed when it did. This is a space where leaders of leaders can just be. We don't have to worry about putting on masks or performing or having to know all the answers. This usually is a place for us to grow and to be poured into. A lot of the conversation that we have gives new thought, perspective, deeper insight into how you can love, live, and lead differently. And so, thank you again for tuning in. And all I ask in return is that if this gives you value at any point, that you just share the love, share the insight as we start having this conversation. Now, I always have one disclaimer, especially because we are just ramping up with these episodes, that we do not script this. Okay, S1 did not get pre-recorded questions. She has absolutely no idea what I'm going to say. I have absolutely no idea what she's going to say. And today, my son happens to not be feeling well, so you may hear him in the background from time to time. He's with his dad. They both aren't feeling well today. So that's just life. Right. Thank you. Thank you. That is just lifing. Okay. So if you hear things going on, just know to stay grounded, stay anchored into the conversation, because I truly do believe that you have something very powerful to share to the listeners on today. And so before we dive into the conversation, I would love for you to introduce yourself, especially if you have any corporate background. Would love to hear about that. If you're a mom as well, anything that you feel to help give us some context before we jump into the conversation.
Yeah, so I am Elsewine Rietveld. I'm from the Netherlands. And although I don't have a corporate background, I have worked with a lot of people in corporate and I've trained them to speak with more confidence, not only on the stage, but also just in meetings to have your ideas heard. And so regularly people say to me like, "Oh, I I say nothing or I say something and no one reacts and the person next to me says the exact same thing and everyone loves it. How does that happen?" So that is one of the things that I really recognize. And my husband is has a corporate background, although he now is working in care. So I'm have been close for a long time, and I am a mom, and I still cannot believe, but my eldest daughter is 23, and the youngest
Wow.
is 19. So
Wow. So you got grown babies.
yep,
Awesome.
yeah.
So
One is
tell
still
me a
a
little
baby.
bit when you talk about just your the work that you do. You are full-time entrepreneur or part-time?
Um, well, I don't do a job next to it, but the care for the family is also, well, I don't say it's a job. So
Yeah, it is. Yeah, for sure.
I don't work 40 hours a week per se, but this is my only work. Yeah.
Got you. So yeah, so we consider that here in the States full time. Full time, that's all you it is that you do. And I know that when we had a conversation before, one of the things that really stood out to me when you spoke was about, being able to pivot when it comes to your business and things that your children are needing in that moment. So you know, having girls, both of them are daughters,
Yes.
teenagers, so teenage girls, they go through all different types of, transitions. I have two myself. So just how are you navigating through being able to be there for your children at all the stages of growth and development, to building your business, while still nurturing that relationship with your husband? How do you do it?
Yeah. So it's I think prioritize. So and don't expect too much of yourself. So
Mm,
I just said, you said it's full time that you do, but I don't work. And specifically also when the kids were younger, I would work during school hours and
mm-hmm.
evenings. So it was always a bit of a puzzle. Yeah, you have to be good at
That's a
puzzles.
good illustration. Yes.
And
Yes, for
then
sure.
also not expect too much of yourself. So don't expect to do the same in 20 hours as someone else does in 40 hours.
Mm,
So to set realistic goals, like what can you
that's
do? What
good.
do you want to do? And then combine. And it's always been such um, a blessing for me because I don't know how it is in the United States, but here they have quite some holidays at school. So
Mm,
they're off like 2 weeks at Christmas, 1 week in February,
yes.
2 weeks in May, and 6 or 8 weeks in summer. And
Yes.
specifically younger, 6 weeks in summer. So I would arrange mostly to take that time off or work then in the hours that my husband was at home. So we would
Yeah.
around that. And if you are both in corporate or somewhere employed, it's very hard. So I've seen that with neighbors who always were, yeah, they had
On.
daycare
Always were on. Yeah.
and like, oh, what do we do? So for me, and everyone makes that, there's no good or bad in that. I mean, usually here, the daycare centers or like the after school um, lookout, I don't know what's the word for that in English. So daycare usually is for like the small children.
Mm-hmm.
Also, they would have places where children can go when they are
Uh-huh.
going to school, and then after school when the parents are working until the parents get home. And
Right.
sometimes these are open in the summer holidays and sometimes not. So it's always like
Mm.
it's a big puzzle.
Yes, I love that because it absolutely does feel like that oftentimes. So tell me, you talked about confidence, and that's a large part of your work. And I would love to dive a little bit deeper into that because, especially as a corporate leader who's leading other people, you know, understanding how to leverage confidence is really key. I would love to hear some practical ways in which the leaders who are listening today can really use their confidence to their advantage, and not in a manipulative way, but in a creative way.
Yeah, and I think first of all, you started out like we are not scripted here and we don't need masks. And that is the same when you are a leader wherever you work, but specifically in corporate. Sometimes you can feel the expectations from others lead to that you need to sort of be or behave a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in the end, true confidence comes from being more yourself. So
Authentic.
being, yeah, authenticity. Yeah. And
Mm,
being so much in your head and overthinking, that is really not helping. We are
mm,
as probably as a generation uh too much in our heads anyway.
mm-hmm.
And we're overthinking, and here come the ideas like, oh, what did Bob say? And how do I
Right. We're so busy thinking about people and what they're thinking, and they're pretty
like
much thinking about what other people are thinking. Everybody's in this cycle of that, you know.
exactly? And I worked with a lawyer who was head of law, and she was always anticipating what if there will be questions coming and I don't know the answers. So again, very much here, not even present in the moment with what was
Right.
actually happening, but
Yeah.
sort of out of this fear that you need. I mean, no one knows all the answers.
That's
No
right.
one,
That's
no one.
right.
But and I get the feeling that you sort of you want to do a good job, and you want to know it all, but you can't. As
Right.
long as you know what you know and know what you don't know, and preferably know how to find the answer, you can always
Mm-hmm.
say, "That's such a good question. Let me get back to you, and I will sort it out for you and send you an email or walk past and come tell you the answer." So
Mm-hmm.
in my book, one of the worst things you can do is to fake confidence and then just say an answer and hope it's right.
Right. Right.
Sort of because you feel you need to be confident and know everything. But
Mhm.
if you get out of this head bubble, and one of the things is to oh, sorry, my hair is getting I
No, no, you're
think
good.
I'm here. Yeah, I don't know if it's a weird static or something. So if you are out of your head and you're so one of the like I do this work with my clients more in depth with presence techniques that take a bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
The first step to do is to focus on your belly breathing because when
Mm.
you focus there, you are not focused on your head right away. So if you feel like you're too much in your head, it's good to sort of ground, feel how you sit in your chair or stand up, and then really breathe down and take a moment to get out of
You're
everything that's
here.
going on here. And always acknowledge if something is happening, like I just did, and I didn't plan that. I mean, I noticed my hair was bugging me, and I could sort of keep looking like, is something weird, or keep like touching my hair or fixing my hair and hope you don't see it or don't notice it, but you do. So then I just said like, okay,
Acknowledging.
I acknowledge it, something's going on, and I try to fix it. And if I can't, well, if it would be like super static to decide, I'm like, okay, I cannot fix it now. I will do that later. And then it's
Yeah.
also way, basically.
And I think honestly, just standing in that confidence and your authentic self really gives other people the silent permission to do the same. Right. And
Yes.
now it creates this culture.
Yes, and that was I was thinking that just before, when we were talking about this, that if you do that, if you step up as being your true self from confidence, you inspire others to also do that and not to fall into patterns, mannerisms, or just because they do it like that, I need to do it the exact way because maybe
Let me
that's
ask you this. What do you say about when a person, the way their authentic self, the version of their authentic self is in conflict with morals, like the mass majority of the morals. So they're subconscious, they're wanting to like resist showing it because they feel like, I'll give you an example. You know, you go to corporate, you're a male, and there's these wide leg pants, or there is a tie, you're a female and you want to wear this, tie that has design on it, and you want to step outside of that. But you understand you're going into a culture where they'll say a female wearing a tie, that's in conflict with the culture. Or a man wearing wide leg pants or wide leg slacks because of fashion or trend, that doesn't look like something that, is becoming for a man. Because you have everybody else who's operating in their own values and their own standards. And I think that's what makes it hard for people to really step into that confidence because they're hyper aware. I remember when I was little, I used to wear a princess dress to school, like, because I wanted to dress like a princess. My mom, like, okay, back then, I didn't realize how crazy it looked. You couldn't tell me anything. I thought that I was, beautiful princess or whatever. But now as an adult, I'm hyper aware of how it looks. And so how do you defeat those thoughts that come whenever your authentic self may not look like what's popular?
That is such an interesting question. And one of the things that plays a role here is also, you said, like, if everyone else is their authentic self, but is it? Or do they just sort of,
No,
well,
everybody else
comply
is
to
kind of
what's
got.
there?
I mean, I feel like there's a very small percentage of people who are truly living their authentic self just because of past conditioning. And so
Yeah, but also, if everyone is wearing that, you're coming with your example of the
no,
clothing.
no one else is wearing it. You're the only one.
Yeah, so everyone else is wearing the same. You said, like,
Right.
maybe the suit or the tie or not the
Mhm.
white um, pants, or what did
Yeah,
you call
everybody's
those?
dressed traditional
Yeah,
according
and
to
then you said
societal standards.
exactly, and you said that they were having that was their authentic self, but then the question is it, or did they um, adapt to that? Um, and so there's a few things. Sometimes it's mandatory. Like if you go to the army, you wear the
Right.
uniform,
Yes.
and then you
Yes.
cannot say like, "Hey, I'm showing up
Right. Yeah. Well,
all
yeah.
white
Exactly.
today," or like in a
Yeah.
pink
In
suit.
environments where you can have freedom, but people just don't because they're scared to step out of the box.
Yeah. So, first
What
of
would you
all,
tell
like
that person?
there's probably more people who feel the same way, but they don't have the courage yet to show
I
that.
agree. Yeah.
So maybe start with something small, or if you really feel like, hey, this is who I am. Like there's multiple things to it because it's also a work environment. So sometimes you dress for work and then you express your authentic clothing self outside of work. So it doesn't mean that what you say and what you do at work is per se non-authentic if you wear a black
That's
pant.
interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting. I like that.
So
And I think that's just really important to have more conversations around because in work culture, I really do feel like what's professional has evolved so much. And so when we use the term professional, it's like, what the heck does that even mean anymore? Like back in the day, in our generation, especially in the Western world, we know exactly what professional looks. You had your tie, you had your slacks, you had a tucked in shirt, you wore a skirt if you're a woman, and it's just not that black and white anymore.
it's not.
You know, I love the way you said identifying the culture that you're in first to make sure that you're meeting the standard that they set because you have to have integrity with the company and make sure you're in vision with that. And that's really key because if what the company standard is, it does not feel good to you and you go to work and it's really like there's some companies that don't want you to wear certain types of hair or locks in your hair or your hair has to be a certain way. If that makes you feel too much out of yourself, it feels like you have to stop being a core part of you, then that's what we mean when we say that it doesn't align. That it just
Exactly.
doesn't align. Yeah.
Yes. So it can be a conclusion that this is not the place for you.
Hmm.
It could also mean, I mean, our authentic self also has many facets. Like we're like a diamond. So do we always need to express our authentic self through clothing?
Yeah, that's
Or
really good.
can we just wear
Comply. Yeah,
adapt and
yeah,
then bring in our authentic self in how we
other
treat
ways.
people, what we say, how we conduct meetings, how we give feedback, how we do everything and show the leadership that way. And
Mm.
if your authentic self is like, "Oh, I love Hawaiian shirts," and that's not fitting in the situation, but people still wear ties. I see that less and less here, but maybe you can wear this very bright colored tie that has this vibe, and then you'll probably be known for it. And yeah, it stands out. And some people will say they don't like it, but some people will say they don't like your shoes, even if they fit in the, the
The
culture. So
culture. That's right.
people always have something to say. So as long as it's not really too much out there, like if everyone is in suit and tie and you're not showing up in flip flops with a Hawaiian shirt and a short, right? And that's also maybe that part of you belongs on your holiday destination.
Right. Yes.
And I
Right. With
mean,
with
yeah,
with wisdom and yeah, with wisdom and knowledge when it comes to that. But that is really good because I think sometimes people, like you said, it's two opposite extremes where they feel like, oh, well, if I can't do this, this, and this, then I don't want any parts of it, or I'm not being my authentic self. Well, no, not necessarily. When you're here, this is the way it is that you dress. That's just a protocol. That's just a standard there. It doesn't mean you lose yourself in that. And yeah, I think that that's really important to really draw the line for you, especially for those people who've been growing out their hair for years and that's, sacred for them and that's their thing. Then absolutely, that may be something you want to draw the line to say, hey, if you feel like my hair isn't professional, then this isn't the place for me. And that's okay too.
of course.
Yeah. So, yeah, being
Specifically,
able to.
like you can just go home and take off your pants and put on your white pants or your shirt or whatever
Yeah.
you like.
The
But
hair,
this
you can't.
hair, it's permanent. You cannot just sew it back on for the weekend.
Right.
Like
Well, you can, but
so.
I get what you're saying.
True. Okay, yeah. I never did, but yeah, if I
Depends
were
on the
I
culture.
my hair long, and if they would
Yeah.
say like you need to like yeah,
Yeah.
then I would say no, thank you.
Yeah, right. Right. So how did you get into this work around confidence anyway? Did you have your own personal story that really kind of catapulted you into this topic?
Definitely. So I used to be super scared to even speak up in groups larger than 3 or 4 people.
Mm.
the first time I stood in front and I was a student and I had to find out something, come back into the classroom, and 99 pairs of eyes were staring at me, and I just had this disconnect between my brain and my mouth. And s- I just wanted to walk away or like, have a hole in the ground that I could sort of disappear in. But of
Right.
course I couldn't because everyone was watching me at the time. And at the same time I was like,
That's why you couldn't disappear because everyone was watching. So if
yeah,
everyone wasn't watching, you could disappear. You got a superpower I need to know about.
yeah, no, no. Okay, So, but I couldn't. Actually, so years later, I wanted to create videos, and I was scared again. But there was no one watching, so what I could do was just walk out of the room. So I disappeared. I
Uh-huh.
disappeared from the front of the camera. If there's all these people watching you, you don't walk away. I
That's
mean,
right. You can't do
unless you
that.
faint or
It would be awkward. Yeah.
yeah, and I felt really strongly like I need to do something about it. And it was a really long journey with starting with 10 days of as a student speaking and presenting training, which led me to find a debating club, which is also where the
Oh,
sister club where I met my husband. This May celebrate 28 years together. We debated for
28.
28 years together, yes.
Congratulations. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of people then say like, "Oh, that will be nice with you at the kitchen table." And I say, "Yes," because we have such a like trained debaters are really good at listening, substantiating, and seeing another person's side of the argument. So, um, because with I don't know if people are familiar who are listening with debate. I don't know if you are familiar with debating, but debating as a sport, you're assigned a position. Like we could say, um, in the UK or in the Netherlands, we should abolish the kingdom and make it a republic. So our royal family should just be dismantled, send them on their merry way. No more king of the Netherlands. Your proposition, your opposition. And
Hmm.
regardless of your own opinion, you need to start thinking of good arguments to come up with how you can convince the jury. So we always see there's
The
value
side
on
of the
both sides.
story. Yeah.
We are not really good debaters, as a general, are not um, always against. If I say left, you say right. If I say black and white,
Right. You just get him pulling different perspectives.
oh, we always like to go against the grain or like what's there. But speaking of this, as a corporate leader, if you have too many yes sayers in your team, you need to create this situation. And this is something I work with as well. I do some debating training, and specifically, there's one way where we work through 7 steps that you go through
Mm-hmm.
that improves your proposals, your decision making, and always have someone play the opposite side. So if everyone is in agreement, like, oh, we need to do this, first of all, you need to take a step back, zoom out, and say, like, many ideas come out of like, oh, we very um, superficial example, we need a new logo and a new letterhead.
Mm-hmm.
So then that's an idea, and someone says, yes, let's do that. I know the designer. I want a new color. And you're working on a project. But you forgot the step before. So if you zoom out for a second,
Hmm.
you're like, what's we're doing something. What is the problem that we are solving with this? Like, is there even a problem? Do we need to solve this problem now?
Mm.
And is this the best solution for the problem? So you first need to define what problem do we have, and then
Mm-hmm.
if there's ideas coming up spontaneously. Sometimes people start like, "Oh, we have a problem and we need a solution." And then it's really good if you're all like together and brainstorming.
Mm-hmm.
There's not opposing thoughts coming up. One
Right.
or two people and saying, "Okay, you are the opposition for now for this meeting. We won't hold this against you, but please find the holes, be against this, and tell us what is wrong." So in that
Ah.
stage, you you find sometimes even like, oh, we're in the totally wrong direction. We need to do something else. But sometimes it is something really small that will save you so much time and money later on because you already found the issue that you could fix and maybe incorporate with your
That's
proposition or with your
awesome.
plan.
I didn't realize
And
debate had all those intricacies to it. I think that is so
yes,
aligned with how you can lead in the corporate space for sure.
yes,
Getting everyone, actively involved and
yeah,
listening to people, understanding, training your brain to understand other people's perspective.
yeah, and really ask people to, and like no repercussions just because they're going against you. And we all deep down have this tendency, we want to be liked, we want people to agree with us, and it feels nice if they do. But actually for business, it's so much better to have a
Hmm.
few people there along the way of the process, just for the one meeting
Yeah,
or for
iron
the one
sharpen iron.
project,
Yeah, to see your blind
because
spot.
yes, and that improves the outcome, and you make better decisions, you make
Yeah,
better
and you feel
products.
confident. Yeah, I can see that. That's powerful.
And even if you do
Yeah.
a lot of work with clients, they come up with the objections or the questions. So you already looked into it, you know the answers, or you fixed it before it even became a problem. And if you then
Mm.
present it to the clients, it will be even depending on what sort of corporate work you do. I know some work more internally, but if you do work with external clients or maybe even internal clients, your proposal is so much stronger when
Uh-huh.
you have everything tested out like that. So it is still some part of the training that I do, and sometimes I even do a full debating training. I have a
Mm.
friend and colleague who has debating as his core business, and he sometimes hires me to judge because what he does is does a debating course, and then they do a small tournament because you learn so much doing the tournament. And for tournaments, you need judges and you need experienced judges who can give good feedback and who also don't take in account their own opinion. Because it's really hard to be a judge and really sort of merit what's being said, what's being done, the charisma people have, the arguments, how well they listened and everything,
Mhm.
rather than going. You see that a lot if there's invited people who are like politicians or CEOs, and then they are also a judge, and they always give the wrong decision because
Mm.
it's skill. They go by their opinion, or they like that this person says this and this, even though it was by the opposite side. It was everything was like chopped down, and there was nothing
Mm.
left of the argument. And they said, well, they said that, and therefore they won, or they are
Wow.
right. I agree. So that is, yeah, so that is something I sometimes do. I give debating training and I do judge. So
Okay.
it's still part of my work in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I can see that's very powerful.
It
That is
it
very powerful.
it is.
So what is the when you work with your clients, what is the how do they know that they've hit their confident marker? Like what is the metric that you are the outcome where it's like, "Oh wow, you hit it."
Okay, so I don't talk in metrics per se. Usually what people say is um, either they say no to opportunities to speak. So I've worked with a man who was a CEO in a tech company, and
Mhm.
he climbed the ranks. So when he was lower in rank, everything was fine and he was speaking on stages. And then he became the leader, the manager, and then the CEO. And all of a sudden, he felt so like different, like everyone would perceive him differently, and he had different expectations.
Mm.
Black out on stage, and he did say they were a sponsor from a good a good cause, and the
Mhm.
company was sponsoring it, and they asked, "Will you open the event for us?" So
Oh,
that's
wow.
depending on, and he said no. But he told me he actually like it would be his dream because it was so close to his heart what they were doing, and so that was one of the things. And talking to clients or welcoming new people, every time he was nervous and uncomfortable, and then we worked together. And he messaged me later and said, like, I've done the opening and it went really well. And it was a really personal story for him attached to that good cause. And he wasn't sure if he was ready to share it. But then he texted me and said, and I even shared a story and
Wow.
got all like good responses. But most importantly, he felt
Mm,
comfortable doing it. So it's not an
awesome.
exact
Awesome.
metric, but it's always um you know, and if I saw someone on LinkedIn they have a new job, and it's been 6 years since they did my worked with me and had my training, and I just messaged like, "Congratulations, new job."
Awesome.
And then they got back to me, said, "Oh, yes, I still use your techniques, and did actually I used the technique
Oh
in my
my
job interview,
God.
and it helped me get the job." So,
Wow.
and I didn't speak with him in the
Wow.
like
That's
6
so
years in between.
powerful.
But so I don't know for metrics, but I go by stories like this.
Yeah, for sure. That's sustainable. Yeah. And I love how sustainable it is over time. It's
Yes, me
practical,
too.
it's sustainable. Yeah, that's powerful. Good
Yeah.
stuff. So let me ask you, we have listeners that are listening from all parts of the world that have carved out time to listen in, tune in. What would you leave them if they had one thing that you can give for them today as they go on and get back into the stressful world, and really stay committed to anchoring themselves into what it really means to be a peace driven leader? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I think the core element of this is really to train yourself to be more present in the moment. So it's simple, but it's not easy. So I mentioned in before, like the breathing is one of the things you can do, um, and to if you feel yourself like you're in conversation and your thoughts are going away, go back to
Mm-hmm.
your breathing, go back to being present. Even if you just listen from just be in the moment, nothing else. Forget all the emails you still have to send, forget the presentation or meeting you need to do tomorrow. If you speak with someone, just be there completely and see what happens. It will shift so
That's
much if you give
that's so
someone
good.
truly their attention
Undivided attention.
and just be present and listen.
Mm.
And bring that more and more into your daily life in every conversation you have. When you prepare a meeting, when you prepare a presentation, that makes the biggest shift, as I see, is to get out of your head and overthinking and really be
Love it.
present. Find ways for yourself. How can I be? I mean, this is the first step. It's awareness and curiosity, and find
Mhm.
ways for yourself. How can I be more present? How can I listen for presence? Don't give immediately the solution or an idea. Just listen, sit there, be present, and see what happens and what shifts.
I love that. That's awesome. Well, thank you so very much for sharing your wisdom on today. It's been beautiful. I can totally see how the work that you're doing to help leaders to really step into their confidence really is making an impact, not just inside the workplace, but inside their home. When you show up confident in your authentic self, you're less offended. It takes a whole lot for you to get offended. Other people can feel it. It's a frequency that really creates opportunities, and yeah, just abundance altogether. And so I just love the work that you're doing. And I just speak blessings as you continue to go out there and do the work. Listen, if you're listening to us live, I highly recommend that you join our app. It's called I Lead, We Rise. We have professionals, specialized professionals like Elsewine that are connected, that you can hear the podcast from and you can learn from them and dive deeper into this work. I love the way in your story you said, I noticed that I struggled in the area of confidence. And instead of making that the excuse, you flip that around and you literally built a business from the very thing that used to be your struggle. That is powerful. And when you do that, you can become unstoppable. Nothing in your path right now. I'll say that again. Nothing. Yep, that too. That you just thought of. Nothing is more powerful than you. You just have to get the courage and the gusto to stand in your authentic self and just go for it. Say yes and do your best, right? And so with that being said, I want to close out by reminding you that you can carry it all. You know, um, But it's not about your ability to carry it all. It's about how well you carry it. And so I want to invite you to continue to stay with us in the lounge as we continue to meet powerful change agents like Elsewine, who are sharing their legacy and leadership insights on how they love, live, and lead differently. And so I want to invite you to the next episode. Until next time, remember, peace driven leadership is not something you find, it's something you create. And this here is your moment to create it. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Bye bye for now.